We are talking the 5 best safeties in the SEC entering 2017. Mark Rogers TV, joined by Mike LaValle from Last Word on College Football, Stephen M. Smith from Touchdown Alabama, and Kevin McGuffey kind of tipping the scales for Last Word on College Football as well. Mike, it's a difficult position to play. You've got to be fluid enough in pass coverage to keep up with some of the speedier athletes in the sport, but also lay the wood if you're going to be a really good one.
Yeah, Mark, if your viewers have seen any of our stuff before, they know that safety is my favorite position on the field. Just like you said, you have to be good in every area. You're that last line of defense. You have to be sure in the tackling. You got to be able to make that interception that changes the course of the game on the back end when it's necessary. And you have to be really a cornerback of the defense back there directing everything. You're the only defensive player that can really see the whole field. I love this position, and I think the SEC has some great players. At number 5, I'm going to start there in Knoxville with Todd Kelly Jr., a little bit shorter for a safety, 5'11", 210, had 2 interceptions last year, 71 tackles, 2 pass breakups. I talked about quarterback of the defense. Todd Kelly Jr. is a guy that's a tone setter. He's a tone setter back there. The Tennessee secondary needs that. The Tennessee defense needs that. A lot of injuries last year. He was able to step up. And when we talk about a guy playing on the back end, making a lot of key critical tackles, you don't get it. Everybody sees the sack stats. Everybody sees the interception stats. But I tell you, Todd Kelly Jr., if you go back and watch the film, if you talk about key tackles in key situations, he had a lot of them last year for the Volunteers. You go back and look at the Kentucky game, the Missouri game, where it was really offensive shootout. TK Jr. is a guy that made a couple key third down tackles that prevented those 2 teams from staying in the game. Tone setter back there for the Vols. And number 4, going up I-75 a little bit, looking at Mike Edwards out of the University of Kentucky, 6', 200 junior, maybe the most underrated safety. 100 tackles for a safety. 100 tackles for a safety. That's all-American linebacker statistic line right there. Okay, and he had 3 interceptions, 19 total passes defended between pass breakups and pass defenses, 5.5 tackles for losses. Listen to that stat line: 3 interceptions, 100 tackles, 5.5 tackles for losses, 19 total pass defenses. Who knows Mike Edwards' name? Everyone should know it. He's got that kind of quality, and so I think people will learn his name this year. He's that good. And number 3, going down to Georgia, Dominique Sanders. Here's a guy who's played at a high level his whole career. So maybe not the best stat line last year, but he gets in there number 3 for what he's done for his whole career. 3 interceptions last year, 34 tackles, 10 pass breakups, 1 fumble return. Georgia should have a great defense coming back this year. A lot of guys returning. So look for Dominique Sanders to kind of be the leader of that defense. Mika Fitzpatrick at number 2. Stephen A. Smith telling us that Mika is going to play safety this year. Looking forward to that. He's probably the best cornerback and probably the second best safety, even without having played it down back there. Everybody knows Minka's stats, and I'll let Stephen A. Smith talk to him a little bit more, but 6 interceptions, 66 tackles, just incredible numbers. Another great Bama defensive back. And then number 1, I talked about this guy last year when we did this position. I love this guy, Armani Watts, probably for my money, the most underrated player in the SEC. He only played 9 games last year. When he was out the second half of the season, you saw how that Texas A&M defense and the secondary played. A precipitous drop-off in performance with Watts out. 2 interceptions last year, 56 tackles, 36 which were solo. But listen to his career stat line: 6 interceptions, 241 tackles. 241 tackles over a 3-year career in the SEC. That's incredible. If he has 75 tackles this year, he will eclipse the 300 tackle plateau for his career for a safety. That's tremendous in the SEC. 14 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 13 pass breakups, 4 forced fumble. He was the only player in the league last year to have a sack, a tackle for loss, a quarterback hurry, an interception, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. He is a complete player. And if I were building a defense in the SEC as a general manager of a program in the SEC, he would be the first defensive guy I took. That's how important I think he is.
So we're not going to insult Kevin and note that maybe Mike Edwards racks up all these tackles because of all the 13 play drives against the Kentucky defense.
Yeah, I mean, you can have opportunities, but you still got to make the tackles.
Okay.